Welcome to the second season of TTYL or Not. I am your host, Rev DeSay, and I am so excited to be, number one, coming back on the scene on Theology Talks You Like or Not. And number two, I have two friends of mine who are going to set the season off right. So you have just tuned in to TTYL or Not.
Welcome to Theology Talk You Like or Not. I am your creator, curator, investigator, sometime instigator, but definitely a liberator, Rev DeSay. And for a few moments of your sacred time in this sacred space, I invite you to tune in as we talk good, talk back, talk loud, talk smack, talk life and love, talk true, talk music, talk art, talk faith, hope, peace, joy, talk justice, talk God. Let's talk.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, I am your host, Rev DeSay. I have the pleasure of sitting with the two out of three owners of Franny Porch. I had the pleasure and the honor of working with them this summer. Welcome, Blue and Chantelle. Introduce yourself to the audience.
Introductions.
Go ahead, Blue.
Well, my name is Blue Kind. I'm the founder and co-owner of Franny Porch. I'm also a mother, an artist, and a deep thinker.
I love that introduction. Hi, my name is Chantelle Todman. I'm also one of the owners, co-owners of Franny Porch. I also am the founder and owner of Unlock Ingenuity and a mother as well. And I would say I'm a big lover.
What great way to start off the new year, bringing in two women of color who are doing some amazing things in the community. Not only are they Black, not only are they women, they are mothers. And I'm just going to jump off with that. The load that women carry into everything they do. How is it that you all are able to come to this point in your life? And why was it so important for three women of color to come together and partner up at Franny Porch?
Well, we do have mission, I think I believe Franny Porch started with this concept of community togetherness and doing business differently, not like a traditional capitalistic structure. And being, a Black woman in general, the different culture of mindset of what it means to actually succeed. In the beginning, I always wanted to be like, well, because we have these values, it doesn't make sense for there to be one owner. It also doesn't make sense for all the owner to take all the profit. So part of it, the idea in the beginning was like, I'm going to start right now. We need to make jobs right now. We need to create this right now. We have this momentum. However, how can this grow into really spreading the load? Because there's a lot to do with owning a business. So spreading the load to people that are perfectly capable and well above capable, better maybe in certain aspects. That's why community is so helpful. And I think it's just, we just putting the energy out there of what we needed as Franny Lou's. I was going to close it a few times. We've been friends for a while.
Yeah.
And but God just kept opening up doors and just kept reasoning to stay open. And it just, manifestation, right? When you focus on things, you put things out, the people will come, or the route will change.
Right. I really love that you said the word manifestation, because I was just reflecting as Blue was talking about my own journey to being part of Franny Lou's. And really, when I announced to my community and people who've known me for a long time that I was going to be moving from a staff member and then on the advisory board and then back and being a staff member to moving on this journey to become co-owners together, people were very much like, oh, haven't you always wanted to own a coffee shop? And it was really beautiful to see my community remind me of how many times throughout my young adult years and adult years saying, I really would love to have a mission-driven coffee shop that really is focusing on women and empowering women and gender minorities and like showing up as a healing space. And so I went as far as even having like my graduate studies being like one of my capstone projects was a coffee shop, actually in London, not in the US, but because that was my goal at the time, get out of America. So I do feel like when my community reminded me about how much I had talked about this in such a way that people were like, oh yeah, did you say you wanted to do this? It reminded me of the way, I think like this certain kind of power and magic as Black women and Black femmes, that where we can manifest and speak things into being despite what the systems of oppression would have us believe, right? That these things are not actually possible, and especially not possible for us. And so I do feel like, wow, I am more powerful than I actually thought I was. And so I think that's been really beautiful about this experience for me.
And we're all willing to take the risk. There's always risk, and it's like, well, might as well take it together.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely more beautiful when we're all together. And I don't think, I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
That's so beautiful. Two things that I heard, both from Blue and Chantelle, and it stuck to me, and I'm thinking about it. It says the people will come or the route will change. I didn't want to skip over that. I mean, I thought that was so profound, like, and manifestation, the possibility, the things that we dream of even as little people, right, can still be in the work. That seed can still be watering. Here we see the manifestation. So you all have little people, and you touched on the ownership part, but how do you juggle that as women of color, also being mothers, and what is the importance of doing what you're doing for the little people that you have looking at you?
Man.
Well, a lot of
that's
a lot of it is the structure of our state in the United States and the capitalistic structure again. As little people come in, they're so cute. See, we're making it. This is part of it. Y'all chill there while we do this, okay? So it's just very limiting. It's like put your child away in a school for 8-9 hours. You go work and you're away from your children. You get your children back. They're tired, exhausted. You're exhausted. You go to bed, wake up, do the same thing. It's very detached of the family. However, I feel like having a business, I started my business and then a year later I became a mom in 2010, 2011. So, and now I have almost 4 children. But this idea is, it's more creative to own a business. It's more flexible to have a business and be a mother, and your children can be a part of the process. They can see and say, wow, this is possible, to love one another and also create together. But it's definitely not easy, right? It's not easy. We have to be very creative.
Yeah. There are good, I think one thing I thought about is that there's going to be challenges regardless of whether you do what is quote unquote the traditional path that's expected of you as upwardly mobile Black people. Especially there's a lot of pressure to perform and do a certain kind of level of successful like posturing. But I think there's challenges and there's trade-offs for either path you take, right? Whatever path you take. For me, what was really pivotal for me about becoming a business owner, because Franny Lou's is my second business, was realizing that the narrative and the story around work and the way that I as a Black woman relate to and experience work was one deeply steeped in colonialism still, right? Like this kind of thing where I give my whole self away to some other entity for their profit and their gain, and they get to essentially consume me, and they never pay me justly, right? It's never an equitable relationship, and I'm exhausted, especially in white institutional spaces, just kind of coming back home to my family and having nothing left to give them. And the story that my kids were hearing about work was that like, it's essentially like an abusive relationship. They take and they take from you, and you hope you get as much as you can back from them. And I was realizing that the story they were getting from me modeling was that like work was not a place of liberation. Work was not a place of dignity, right? And I did not want my kids to see that. I wanted to see that as a Black woman, especially, that like work can be an avenue of liberation, right? And that it should be an expectation of reciprocity and equity and dignity. And so I really felt like I couldn't make that story possible or embody that until I really took things more in my own hands and thought what was possible by starting businesses. So my kids, it's normal to them, right? Like you normalize to your kids, like, so you have a vision and a dream and you start it and you make it happen and you do it and you can thrive on that, not just survive. So
yeah, I'm wondering as we're talking, Chantelle, we recently just had a conversation around this, how important it is to see our children see us be loved, and not only in intimate relationship, but in friendship, in work. And I'm wondering, how do they view you now? Like, children have this thing about them, they just know, right? How do they experience you now that you are in this, you are owning your own business, setting up your own schedule, have this flexibility, and seeing how you are being loved or feeling loved through this journey? It is so, I can't even stress how important it is for children to see like good, loving relationship happening to their parents, their guardians, because that in itself teaches them what it means to live and love themselves. I guess I asked and answered the question.
It's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know how my, like, I think, right, my kids are still making sense in a meeting of what decisions I've made that maybe their peers' parents are not making, or the ways that they see me engaging work. I do think that even though I've changed my circumstances of like the container that work happens in, I did have to do a lot of healing and decolonization of still, like, you know, working jobs like I was in a capitalist, like working my businesses like I was in a capitalistic white supremacist environment. And I did all of my own detoxing and decoding, and they were really good accountability partners, because they'll be quick to tell you, like, nope, you're doing too much. Like, I don't see you enough. Or when I see you, the time is not quality. Why are we always at the store? Why are we always at the store? Like, what's going on? And they're trying to make sense of like how my relationship to work is changing, and the ways that I've embodied it that were normalized but weren't healthy, right? And so they're trying to understand, like, well, why are you doing this thing differently? And like, well, there's a reason why, and there's an adjustment to that, right? So I think there's still, I'm really curious to see what they're going to say, like, when they get older, about what they see, what they saw modeled for them around work and around like being whole people, and an expectation to bring your whole self to whatever you do. But I know what I saw modeled, and I was like, there's got to be another way. There's got to be other ways that we can do this and get free. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like children, they still are working on humanizing their mothers, because a part of it is very egocentric until supposedly 7 or 8 years old. Like, that's part of their, supposedly. We're gonna change that. So I'm very curious. So I feel like they judge things based on how they feel loved, right?
How they want. I missed that.
They judge situations how they receive love, more than how they see me being loved. However, I'm working with my children now, because I'm also, you know, going through a separation at the moment, and reminding them that, like, do you want a happy mama? And they're like, yeah. I was like, oh, do you want me sad mama? And they're just like, happy mama, happy mama. Okay, I was like, well, let's make these steps. We need to make these boundaries. We need to go this direction. It might hurt for a little bit, but you'll get happy mama. And so that's like these are conversations we have with transitions and loss and grief. But also, like you were saying, it's like, you know, they don't like me working, quote unquote. And I'm trying to get this idea out of their mind of what work actually is, because I feel like we all are here as human beings to contribute our gifts, and whatever, if you receive money, that's cool. But it's about really contributing your gifts and being active in your community. And so I had the discussion with my little 5-year-old yesterday, I woke up early. I wake up at like 5, 6 in the morning, have my alone time. I try to work for at least an hour before they wake up. So I work for an hour. They woke up, and I probably worked for another hour while they were awake. I was like, y'all just chill. And then she's like, you were working all day. I was like, baby, I only worked for 2 hours today. You know, like their concept of time is way different. Mm-hmm. So it's like trying to, but they're still affected by it. She still feels like I'm working all day, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's like really being creative, setting your children up to, like each child is different. Like if you're introverted, you probably don't want as much, you don't need as much attention necessarily versus somebody who's extroverted. So really it's like knowing your children, taking the time to really establish boundaries on your work, no matter what type of work. And, you know, Chantelle and Ashley really helped me with that because I'll work all day. I'm family of workaholics and entrepreneurs where it's not necessarily healthy at all. Like my dad was avoidant. My mom was tired and stressed. So really making sure we develop boundaries so our children feel loved. And then in that, you know, their accountability. Like they remind us to stop and ask ourselves, what do we like to do, to play? How do we like to love, be loved? You know?
Yeah, that's good. So, that's good. I'm hearing. One of the things that I heard you said, Blue, was you talked about your parents, and Chantelle, your model of the parenting that you received, like the pushback that we do as human being. I recently finished the 4th and 5th agreement. And in that, one of the things that I learned was how we are domesticated. And so we come at a point in our life where we've been downloaded with all these agreements that our parents downloaded within us, and then we push back and we make new agreements with ourselves, the things that we are not willing to do. In all of that, hearing how our parents was basically using what was downloaded on them, and I'm sure they made new agreements consciously and unconsciously. What are the ritual practice are you all utilizing to care for yourself? I hear your children's holding you accountable, but how do you hold yourself, and now that you're in business together, each other accountable and have ritual practice that really cares for the self, the individual?
Yeah, this business partnership with Franny Lewis, with Ashley and Blue, has been such a space of healing for me.
Shout out to Ashley. Shout out
to Ashley. Woo, Ashley. Yes, she's here in spirit. It really is such a beautiful experience to have, of having like these different voices and these different perspectives and reflections back to us of like, hey, I'm seeing you doing this. Like, you know, this is how it's impacting me. This is what I'm hoping for. This is what I'm longing for. And kind of having this dynamic that feels really, really healing, because I have had experiences of past business partnerships and we did not have that kind of loving accountability. And it was a mess. There were so many things that were manifesting themselves that needed to be healed and addressed. And I was like, okay, I left corporate places because I felt, or like nonprofit Christian sector, which is its own animal, and I know that I don't want that, and I try to make it with this other person, and this wasn't it. Like, this didn't feel like this was the thing I wanted to have either. I learned some things, right, and I started practicing some new rhythms around work, but it didn't end up being the healing space I wanted it to be. And so I took all those lessons and I'm bringing it into this new business partnership. And what I'm seeing there is, when you're partnering with other people who have their own rest, healing practices and rituals that they're actually practicing, not talking about, not advising other people to do, they actually are working it out in real time themselves, and that they're committed to, that really becomes a space where you're like, okay, I have to take my own stuff seriously. I have to really take it, you know, Blue and Ashley both would be like, I'm like, yeah, I'm really struggling with this. And they're like, yeah, and it's going to come up for you, and it's going to be triggered here at work. And so what are you going to do about that? And I'm like, oh, I have agency. I am a sovereign being. Like, I get to make a choice about how I respond to something. I don't have to pretend that it's not happening. And really leaning, for me, heavy on pleasure has been such a cornerstone of healing for me, especially around work and just around relationships, because feeling like I had to earn pleasure and rest, feeling like I had to do certain kinds of things to prove that I was worthy of those things was really a block for me to balance out work and self-care and soul care, right? I really needed a community to be like, yeah, I'm checking on you. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're not resting, or you're showing up real frazzled, or you're showing up real hard. And so I had to really lean hard on pleasure practices in a way that felt, to me, super indulgent, like just really guilt-laden indulgency. But I feel like the more community support I had around like, yes, it's okay if you experience pleasure. You should be like that and rest. That should be a priority. The more I was able to heal a lot from just like toxic capitalism, white supremacy stuff that black femme bodies are meant just to produce and be consumed, right? So it's been really healing to see those practices done in community as well.
Can you share some of your ritual practices? Like, what are some, I hear Chantelle talks about rest and pleasure. Like, what are some like real tangible things, practices that both of you all do to care for yourself?
You have some off the top. I can share some. I can share some. Listen, okay, here we go. No, for real.
I'm just like, what?
Here you go. I'm gonna share, and you can edit whatever you gotta edit. So for me, like, it is really important for me to have green stuff in my space, right? I realize that like I love soil and tending to plants, but then like, I just had a whole relationship I had to work through with the land. Black people sometimes have a relationship with the land that needs to be worked out, generational trauma you inherit. So I love to garden and grow things, but then like there wasn't really any plants in my space. And when I moved into my new house, I asked people specifically, give me plants. I need plants in my home. Some of them fare well, some don't. There's an example of one that's struggling, but that's okay because that's real life, right? Like, and so I have these relationships with plants now that feels very generative and healing. And when I see a plant that's struggling, I'm like, what? Let me see what I need to do differently. I need to give it something different, right? I don't say this plant is a failure, let me throw it away. I'm like, what can I adjust and give it differently so it can thrive? And it's like, that speaks to me about my ownership with myself. Like, what do I need to adjust, right? Do I need to take so sometimes I'm like, I need to take a long shower with candlelight and music. And I want nobody to come to this bathroom door when I'm in the shower, right? And I'm gonna just like have time and space just to be embodied with myself, like pleasure practices around like, I had a month at least where I committed to, can I have an orgasm a day, right? Can I gift myself an orgasm a day? And like, and if I felt really luxurious, can I do two? And like trying to really be in my body in a way that let my body be a place of healing and pleasure and play, and not a place of like just labor and stress. So I did make my commitment to at least once a day for a month. And in that, and read Pleasure Activism by Adrienne Maree Brown during that process too, and really started decoding even the way I thought about pleasure as something to be consumed, right? So just really a lot of decolonization and liberation work happening with that. So,
here.
Yeah. Come on, Blue, what's your practice?
Hold on the topic. Go ahead, Blue.
No, I am still, I think this is why, this is my fourth pregnancy, it really forces me to stop and be present with my body, and the consequences of not stopping and connecting are this baby, and the health of the baby. And that those are good reminders for me. Like, so I'm saying it's an area of, it has been an area of struggle for me, and pregnancy really reminds me of the need for it. But lately, as I get older, I started, the shop energy when I was 21. And so now I'm 32, but our minds are fragile. And I have a Gemini moon. And so if anybody who knows, it can be very much a lot of things going on. Mm-hmm. And so as I'm getting older, I'm realizing the need I have for meditation, quiet. I'm a poet. So I need to write every day. Whether it's a few words, whether it's, something that two or three pages. I try to read every day. I try to learn every day. So when I wake up and have my alone time, I can just stare at flowers and look at birds all day. I stared at cardinals today and woodpeckers and squirrels. And they reminded me of the squirrels, especially of preparing. They were just preparing, you know, and every animal has a symbol and they have so much to teach us. So I can get lost and like, I need a timer because I will stay there all day. Now I'm like addicted to it. So that's what I do. I just wake up, have my quiet time. When my children are asleep, they wake up early. They stay in their room until it is time. So I definitely keep my boundaries. And, you know, I nourish myself. Like I make sure I have herbal teas in the morning, water with lime juice. I made a ginger tonic. You know, caring for our bodies is very necessary. And that to me is very pleasurable. I do love sweets. I'm like, I had a little cookie today. I was like, man, I'm going to make this cookie a little more nutritious. But like, you know, limiting the amount of toxins we put in our body, like being very accountable. We are accountable for our health. So finding pleasure in that. I love food. I love consuming.
That's one thing I feel like Franny has taught me is like food can be a source of both healing and pleasure. And just like and communal, right? And so it feels like Franny has really healed my relationship with food too. Like just even being there, thinking about what I put in my body and where it comes from, and how I do it in community with accountability, and how I can just enjoy a thing. You know, like my favorite moment is when Ashley makes something new or makes something, and she's like, "You want to try? You want to try it?" I'm like, "You don't have to ask. The answer is yes."
Please.
Please, yes. And it's just like this moment of like, she's like, here's something I made.
And I like dance.
Yes, we do get very excited about trying food because we love it, right? And it brings us joy. And I think that is, and it's supposed to. So.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things I miss. I think there's a couple of things that I've tried out between Willow and Ashley creating some concoction that said yes to my soul, you know. And then I would have my moments where I have like a whole sermon over what Franny Lou has like brought to the table. So yes, I'm glad we came full circle back to Franny Lou's Porch and how all of this is a part of what you've all created, the pleasure part, the play part. If we look at the structure of Franny Lou's, I love the background, the garden part, the putting your hand in soil, where there's plants everywhere. The communal part, how the people gather in the front, and you bring community resources to the people, and you partner with other communities. I mean, you all do some amazing things, and I want to talk about the latest news. I mean, I want to share it, but it ain't my place to share. But I think I'm the one.
You want to talk about the latest?
The latest news of Franny Lou's Porch. What is going down over there? Y'all doing, what's the next thing? Y'all on this next level stuff. What are y'all doing over there?
Next level. It's like different magical thing to conquer every month.
Yes, it does.
How are we going to do this? Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like we just go from mountaintop to mountaintop.
Mountaintop to mountain, like a leap. We just leap.
Leaping. Yeah, so I definitely feel like our first we had a dream, like what would it be like for us to become a community of owners, right? And we did the work for that to happen, and that was work for that to happen. And then we're like, what would it look like for us to like bring our staff in, our tribe members in as profit sharers, and we figured out a model for that, right? So that people who work at Franny Lou's, when we do well and we flourish, they get a percentage of profits if they work there, you know? And that felt like, okay, a step towards more equitable relationships around work and staff, right? And then
no, there's another one.
Wait,
before you go there.
Which one?
And what do we do to still be a place for community when we all have to be so isolated?
Oh, yes, right. So then what do we do for that one?
Yeah, that happened. So,
COVID,
you know what I mean?
COVID. Yeah, COVID.
So
oh yeah, that the COVID
That's what
thing
I'm saying,
took it to a whole other level. Yeah, great. How do we still be faithful?
We're here right now in this type of setting, you know.
Right. Here we are in the video, right? And we can't. I mean, we're a brick and mortar spot. So like, what does it mean for us to still be a place of healing and connection and community when we're all taught to like right now we're being told distance and mask and be careful with connecting. And so I feel like we really had to adjust and pivot and find new ways to adapt to embodying our vision and still be in spaces together. And so we just
keep having the talking points and our mission.
Yeah.
We have poll questions and
right. So we're still doing as much of our
soul work. the soul stuff.
Right, around as much as we can, and in digital platforms more and more, right? And so then, now then, this opportunity arises to purchase the building that we're in right now, where we're tenants at the bottom floor as a retail tenant, and it was shortly after we became owners that.
Shortly after. It was the same month.
I think it was the same month, and Blue was like, so we just became co-owners.
We just saying is 2 weeks later.
But I think we need to have a discussion about this building being for sale and what we want to do about that. And Blue was like, I think we need to make a move. And my instant reaction was, what? like we have just scaled this mountain. Can we have a breather? And Blue very much heard that energy, and she's like, yes, but I think we really need to make a move and take this seriously. And we were like, okay, like I think we both.
But we rested. We
did rest.
Like we didn't want to just jump into things. We're like, let's finish this process with the ownership model.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not let's stay calm and grounded. We're not going to get this like competitive, like, oh. We're not going to do that, because if we react, who knows what could have fallen through. Mm-hmm. And I think that energy of like, wow, we're settling what we needed to settle. And then right when, this month started, we kind of felt more like, oh, now we know what we need to do. Mm-hmm. And I think, so I'm really blessed to have partners to be able to encourage each other to do that kind of risk taking. Like, it could have been bought under us, but we decided to wait and be patient and trust the process. And look where it got us. So I'm really excited.
So what essentially the news is that like we decided that we wanted to buy the building and put an offer in. And we, Blue had really done a lot of groundwork already to like identify community partners, grantors, loaners who would want to contribute to this process. And we had discussion. We're like, we're going to put up a GoFundMe. We're going to put up a GoFundMe and just see what happens.
Never did a GoFundMe for that much money.
Yeah, it was.
I was like, well, big ask. This is what we need.
Yeah, it was a big ask. That
like $53,000.
Right. And I was like, well, let's put the number up there and see what people say. And we gave ourselves 2 weeks to raise this money towards the cost of the down payment for the property, purchasing the property. And in 1 week, right?
1 week.
1 week.
I saw that thing. I was like,
yeah, right?
$6,000 in a week.
Yeah. I literally was like, oh, okay, I see you ancestors. I see you community, right? Like, oh, I see you. You're trying to show out now. Like, because literally what is, that's what I'm talking about. Like, what is possible? Mm-hmm. What do we imagine is possible or not possible? Woo-hoo. And how much do we let systems of oppression tell us what's possible? Because like the community did this in a week, above and beyond our ask of $53,000.
Yeah, and even before we put it on, we had this meeting with these realtors and these different people. And one of the guys looked at me, he was like, for small businesses, it can be really tough to get financing. And I looked at him and I was like, don't put that energy towards me, sir. Like, this will be fine. We need 2 weeks.
Hello.
And,
that is what she said in the meeting. She told us that in the meeting. She's like, no.
Told him
she's like, no, boo boo. Don't put that on me.
But like, I did feel, I was like, no.
Yeah.
No.
That's my narrative.
That's
right.
Not my limitation.
That's my limitation. Right. Exactly. And to see her say do that in the moment, and we all were like, yeah, that's right. Like, that's not us. Like, you can't tell us what's possible. Like, right? That's what I felt like too. It was
with my mask on.
That's right. With your mask. With your mask. She told
you see my eyes?
She's like, no, sir. No, sir. That's your limitation. Right? And that's really what we've experienced is that like, we don't have to accept other people's limitations of what's possible or not possible.
Mae Jemison.
Right, exactly. Yes, that's our quote for the month.
Quote for the month.
What is it?
Our quote for the month is from Mae Jemison about possibilities and not accepting other people's limitations, right? Otherwise, we will never do it. We won't really do anything if we just worry about other people's limitations. So yeah, we're super excited. We're moving the process forward to try to purchase the building and to become building owners. And even we started a whole nother organization or business to do that actually, as the three of us. So now now we own 3 businesses. I own 3 businesses.
3.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. So yeah, so now we're doing this and I'm really so inspired by myself. Have you ever been inspired by your own self?
Shay, listen. This whole thing, me doing this, continuing TTYL or not virtually, because when I tell you I was against everything virtual and coming into 2021, I was a yogi. I'm still a yogi. I'm hosting. I have Wheneverland. And I was like, Sasha, you can't get stuck in your own way. Get in your own way, right? I'm doing everything virtually now. And it's like, it's a little bit of learning and it's a little bit of adjustment. But guess what? Things are happening. And I'm seeing how things fall into place. And just to see what happened from the moment y'all post to the moment that I actually saw a posting from somebody else. I think it was Joss Duncan. She was a former guest on TTYL.
She left me a voicemail congratulating me.
You don't even know, like, that's such a blessing. It's such an inspiration to see that happen. It's not just about you all getting this building, the time frame, and you said the community did it. You know what I'm saying? It's always been about the community. And so it's well deserved. Like, I mean, y'all should have put more on there just to cover y'all for.
We do have a stretching goal. We have a stretching goal.
We still have more time.
Yeah.
It's if we get it to 75,000, we can buy the garden next door, the lot that we have our side lot, and also build an awning and handicap ramp. So we did put that. We didn't want to adjust the number in the main, but we did communicate to all of our people that, if this gets up, this is what we'll do, and this is how we will steward it.
Right. Yeah. I think it speaks to the power of community and the power of the people's will to make something manifest itself. And I think it also speaks to like the integrity and the legacy of like both myself, Blue, and Ashley showing up and saying yes, right? And saying yes and not being just reactionary and not being scarcity mindset of like, oh, well, we got to make sure that, we have enough for ourselves, or we don't want to have people in his space because we want to make sure we're safe from COVID. Like, we really wanted to be as open, like we talked about having a posture of having our hands open, right? And when you have your hands open, people can give, but people can also take, right? People can also get something from you, right? And so how do we keep our hands open to receive, but also to give back, and be in these reciprocal abundance circles, cycles. So I definitely am inspired by the community. I'm inspired by you, Dasha. I'm definitely inspired by you all the time. I'm inspired by Ashley. So I just feel like I feel like I'm in a really, like, I'm so grateful for the people that I call family, who I get to do life with. So.
Well, I'm going to wrap this up. And usually this is how I begin Theology Talks You Like or Not. But I felt like I needed folks to hear the story. This season, I'm trying to lead with the folks and then ask this important question. Where is God in all of this?
Oh.
God, divine, spirit, ancestors. And I know I've heard it throughout our conversation, but if you can share just real simply, where do you see God in all of this for Franny Lou's Porch, for your lives, for your community partnership?
Well, I would say God is in purpose. Even recently, my 8-year-old son was like, "Mama, do you want to be pregnant?" And I looked at him, I was like, "Oh, baby, it's not about what I want, baby. It's about who this person is. And this soul needs to be here because they have a mission." And so he's like, "Well, what's my mission? What's my purpose?" And I said, "Well, I have some clues because I watched you grow up, but this is something for you to be in touch with God and yourself and to understand where you need to be." So I do think we are created. I do believe that we are here on purpose, and we have a choice to either follow that purpose and see the abundance and the joy and the love and the struggle and the beauty, or we can decide to ignore it. Remember the route I was talking about, like if you ignore it and do, whatever is easier or expected or pushed in that direction. But what we reap is what we sow. So I think we will be blessed if we continue the purpose of God, because that's all towards love. It's all towards community, and it's all towards the beauty of the earth and its people. So that's my answer.
Going after Blue on that one is a little rough, because
deep thinker.
Yes. So, ooh, purpose.
Sorry, I got it.
Purpose. Ooh, I love that because it really brought up for me. I'm gonna give a shout out here to Desiree of Nana Catherine's Apothecary, who does.
Who we both love.
Yeah.
Who will be a guest on TTYL.
Okay, thank you. I want to say, and who I think you should have as a guest. I'm glad you're ready on that. Okay, you already peeped that. Okay, I love her. I love her work, and that talk about spaces of healing, like and just access points to ancestors and spirit and your body. Just like it has been incredible for me, like really pivotal relationship for me. And one thing that she talked to me about many months before we became co-owners, before this whole process, she said to me, oh, you're just really experiencing a lot of frustration in your life right now. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm low-key, high-key frustrated all the time. Like, and that's just like been the MO of my life and in general. And she's like, and I think you think it's because of your circumstances, but it's not. You're frustrated because you're not aligned with your purpose and you're not doing the work you are here to do as a healer. And once you get into that and doing the work as a healer and your purpose, you're not going to be as frustrated. But this is what the ancestors and your body's telling me, like, this is what's going on. And Spirit's trying to tell you is get aligned with your purpose and do the work you're meant to do, and you will see your frustrations decrease. And I was like,
no matter if you're poor, you're
right. It's not about your circumstances. She's like, you think it's these circumstantial things that are happening that are causing barriers and making you all frustrated. She's like, these things are not helping, but it's really because you're not aligned in doing the work you're supposed to be doing as a healer. Get to doing that work and you'll be less frustrated. And I want to tell you that since I started saying no to the things that are expectations or distractions, or even things that I feel like I should be doing, and started saying to make space so I can say yes to things that will bring me closer to doing the work of healing, or actually are avenues of healing, the less frustrated I have been, though my circumstances have not always changed. Right? Mm-hmm. I have more capacity now to navigate those circumstances. And if that is not God, then I don't know. But then I don't know what we can call God.
You tuning up, Reverend.
If that's not the Lord. Okay, right? So that I'm like right behind Blue with the purpose. Like I do feel like that is God, and how God will make a way out of no way. That is God's work, right? Making a way out of no way. I think sometimes we think that's our work to make a way out of no way. That's God's work. And our job is to get in line with the way, right? And to be able to adapt and say yes. Because God definitely gives us a choice. We have to concede and we have to consent to the will, to our destiny, to our purpose. So that's my God. Yeah. That's my God talk.
And one more thing too, it's like with the mission of Franny Lou's, the deepest thing about Franny Lou's is human connection, and how we connect to each other as humans, divine beings, spiritual, godlike creatures. That is the core of Franny Lou's. We do that by, looking at people's face and welcoming them and loving them. And so that is in the fabric of our mission.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both. I've just been so richly blessed just having this conversation with you all. Blessings upon blessings upon blessings to your individual lives and to Franny Lou's Porch. And another thing, visit Franny Lou's Porch. Give them the information. Where is Franny Lou? Not crazy. I love my Chloe chai tea there made by but give the people information about where Franny Lou's Porch is, what they can expect, what the experience is, and what is the hope for that community moving forward.
Franny Lou's Porch, 2400 Coral Street, the corner of York and Coral, Market Finger Train, York side of Market Finger Train, number 5 bus. So come on out to East Kensington, Fishtown. We're online, FrannyLou'sPorch.org. We're also on Instagram and Facebook at Franny Lou's. We are a place of rest, community, and coffee and tea. So definitely come out. Everything in the store is local, organic, and relational trade and made with love. So we are here for you, and we'll knock on your door if we need any help too.
We will be in a reciprocal relationship with you. My hope for the future of the business and for that neighborhood of Kensington where we are is that we would continue to be a space and a place of healing and of liberation, and that we would do it by any means necessary. And that as new people move into the neighborhood and people who have historically been there are still in the neighborhood, that becomes opportunities where we really get to reveal what's going on here, what is happening in the bigger picture, and we can choose healing, right? That's what's before us. I love that the names of our drinks and our food are things that we want to call into the world, right? We want to be about pro-community. We want to be anti-capitalist. We want to honor and speak the name of Angela Davis. You know, and when customers say the names of these things, it is evoking that spirit and memory and legacy and life, right? And so I want all of those, all the power of those people's lives who are living and those who have passed, and their legacy of committing their lives to liberation and healing as a collective to really be felt and seen and experienced, not just in Franny Lou's, but around the whole neighborhood, around the whole community. So.
Because if we can see it outside of ourselves, then we can see it within ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's the point, is
Yeah.
that we are possible, we are powerful creatures, and we are capable. So these people that we, talk about all the time, Angela Davis, Gil Scott Aaron, all these people,
Franny
Lou Hammer, Francis C.W. Harper,
right.
They are just ordinary people of the land, and we are ordinary people as well. So I'm really excited on the magic we can always create individually and collectively.
What she said.
You have just tuned into the first episode in the second season of TTYL or Not. Thank you both, Blue and Chantelle, for being with me. I'm so excited to sit with so many other people who are doing such amazing work in the community. And we ask the question, where is God in all of this? Thank you, and TTYL or Not. Peace.
Yeah, bye.
This season of TTYL or Not is being funded by Independence Public Media Foundation and supported by Good Pitch, Doc Society, and Love Now Media. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, TTYL or Not, and click on notification for updated episodes.